Hi, my name is Thomas Gibbs with usfranchisevisa.com. And in this video, we will discuss the franchise opportunity Fitness Together franchise with Lauren Wanamaker, Director of Development with Fitness Together franchise and WellBiz brands. There are links below in the description for Fitness Together and usfranchisevisa.com. Lauren, thank you for being on the call today.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas. Great to be here. I'm excited to share more with you and everyone out there on Fitness Together. So I'll kind of get started. Thanks for the intro. I am, of course, Lauren Wanamaker. I am based here in Phoenix, but we have another office with our parent company in Denver, which is the primary headquarters of Fitness Together. But I'll dive right in and just share a little bit about the concept, the brand. We are, of course, a 20-year-old fitness franchise, which is, as you might imagine, pretty unheard of in the fitness space. So very established, part of a very established industry, of course, as well. We have about 140 studios across the country. And really the primary basis of Fitness Together is private suite one-on-one personal training. And the sweet spot there is privacy. So we have really private suites within our studios, about 3 to 4 of those private suites where custom programming, custom personal training takes place in each suite. So pretty small, manageable footprint, usually about 15 to 1,800 square feet, really simple build out equipment package that comes with essentially a fully equipped suite, fitness suite for each suite. So pretty minimal body weight based equipment you see in this photo, usually a rack, dumbbells, BOSU balls, TRX bands, things like that, and then a small amount of cardio equipment that are placed up front of the studio. Our investment range is going to be 143 on the bottom end to 258 on the top end, of course, depending on real estate, build out costs, things like that. Another beauty of the Fitness Together model is that compared to, say, in-home personal training, we're really targeting a specific clientele, definitely an upscale clientele with high discretionary income, but they are an individual who doesn't want to work out in their home, right? They don't want to have someone come over for in-home training. They want the motivating aspects of getting up, getting dressed, going to a social environment where they can interact with other clients in the upfront cardio area and really build that community and family. But when it comes down to their actual training session, they're in that private suite with their trainer with dedicated one-on-one attention. It's really a pretty simple model, usually a handful of personal trainers. Of course, their training sessions in those suites. So if you have 4 suites, you could be training 4 sessions on the hour, every hour during the day. And is really a scalable model, definitely available for, multi-unit growth opportunity and even growth within, existing studio as well. A little bit about our parent company. We are part of WellBiz Brands, which is essentially our parent organization. In addition to Fitness Together, we also have Amazing Lash, which we recently acquired in the last year. Amazing Lash has about 250 studios across the country, and then, 220, and then Elements Massage, which has about 250. But it's really a great time for, of course, the Fitness Together brand, but then the WellBiz infrastructure, because it means really a substantial amount of support and training and resources that are essentially collectively supported by WellBiz. So a lot of very in-depth training in terms of both health and wellness industry, but also membership and package sales, marketing, really just a high level, high caliber executive team supporting all 3 of our brands. And so from there, kind of dig into, what is Fitness Together? Again, we're really targeting a strong need in the prospective clients to deliver private suite personal training, again, in that kind of high-end environment. They want custom nutrition and programming. So we're really filling this pretty unique niche of high disposable income individuals that want results. They really want that accountability piece. and they want that privacy. They don't want to work out in a big box gym around a bunch of other people. They really want dedicated resources and customization. And so, we're of course part of, again, that steady personal training industry that has remained in the top 10 fitness trends for over a decade. So it's not going anywhere, right? People always need personal training, and Fitness Together is a very unique niche within this large fitness industry that allows us to capture a very specific clientele. So we're not going after the same client that all the big box gyms are going after. We're not targeting all the same clients that group fitness brands are going after. It is really a very specific individual. And because we have 20 plus years of client data, and real estate data for that matter, we're able to target them very granularly, very specifically to our studios. So of course, it's not a fad, right? It's personal training. It's not attached to any specific type of equipment or methodology. And it really is a unique training environment that you can't get anywhere else. Fitness Together is truly the only brand still to this day after 20 years that is doing training in the private suite setting the way that we do and will continue to. And we're third nationally in personal training market share, which is quite staggering. We have, of course, 24-hour fitness at the number 1 position, Lifetime Fitness number 2, and you can imagine the volume that both of those businesses do nationally. And then Fitness Together is third nationally in personal training market share. So we really capture a significant portion of the market share across the country, and there still is just so much opportunity left for growth across the country. This really does kind of highlight the 4 key components of Fitness Together, which we've really touched on a little bit already, but exceptional personal training. So our programming is custom. It really is combining all of the most important aspects of personal training: care, personalization, accountability, right? If a client's not showing up to a training session, they know that their trainer is going to be calling them, or a member of the Fitness Together team is going to be calling them. The privacy of the suites, of course, that is the most important aspect, but in comparison to that, and actually in conjunction with the privacy, is that community environment. Our clients are really attracted to the relationships and the environment that they build with other clients in the studio when they're not in their session. And that's a huge component of really the retention piece, right? What also continues to keep clients coming back to our studio year after year. Our programming is really a pretty perfect combination of aerobic, so cardio through our Cardio Together program, and strength training through our Aspire 8 program. So it is custom programming, all encompassing, and meeting the client at their level of need. And common sense nutrition, this is also in conjunction with genetic nutrition. So we have just launched a program called Genetic Direction that allows us to really conduct essentially a blood analysis, a genetic test through a third party, and populate that information. So based on their genetics, their DNA, we're able to build their nutrition program based on exactly what they should and shouldn't be eating, and essentially what they should and shouldn't be doing in the gym as well, based on really their genetic makeup. So all of those components lead to, really great results for our clients. And then of course, what we as franchisees and franchisor are looking for. And so to kind of bring it full circle from the business perspective, a low initial investment. Looks like there's a little bit of an adjustment from our previous FDD here. So reference the previous slide as far as our investment is concerned, but low overhead too. It's a small amount of staff that you're looking for, Fitness Together Studio, and we'll get into what the owner role can kind of be in a couple of different scenarios, but there are not a lot of moving parts. There's no retail. It's a handful of employees and a pretty simple business model. Really, you can hit the ground running, right? There are not a lot of moving parts on the front end from build out as well as on an ongoing basis. So you can really get the studio open, up and running very quickly. Our studios have had, at least in prior years, at least close to a 10% same studio average revenue increase, which is of course staggering as well for a system of our longevity, 20 plus years. and healthy ROI. And we can dig into, really what our item 19 looks like, but our top studio in the country is generating north of $1 million in gross revenue as listed in our item 19 in our FTD. So really incredible revenues for a pretty simple business model. From a territory standpoint, we have great brand awareness and presence across the country, as you can see here in the green states, and really just a ton of great prime territory still available. So it's really a nice and unique point in time for Fitness Together, because we have kind of this twofold where there's great availability, great brand awareness, and then really substantial support with WellBiz Brands. Essentially, it is an organization supporting 600 collective locations between all of our brands. So you have a much higher caliber support system, support team that you might not have otherwise with a brand of 140 studios. The physical studio, the physical space, again, private suites, a pretty small footprint, manageable, pretty simple build out. We're really looking for an A+ trade area, so a high concentration of our specific demographic and psychographic, but it can be kind of a B or B- retail, which is great from a real estate standpoint. You're not looking for the most high-end expensive real estate. It can be kind of across the street, around the corner in a less expensive retail area from, say, the forefront prominent Whole Foods shopping center. So that's a nice benefit. And landlords love us. We're not looking for 20, 30 parking spots. We're looking for a handful. So it's a great benefit from a real estate perspective when we're seeking out those spaces. I know we'll touch a little bit more on support and all of the components that come with that, but this is just kind of a high-level overview of everything that we provide for you as a franchisee. Of course, franchisee training at the get-go, real estate and site selection assistance, ongoing operational support, a lot of these components that I'm sure we'll dig into more, and definitely throughout a process if a candidate decides to investigate the Fitness Together model a little bit more in depth. We'll talk in a lot of detail on the support structure behind Fitness Together, the lead nurturing program, how we drive leads to our studios, and then of course help those studios convert these. It is package based, so we're selling pretty large dollar sums up front. So it's not membership based. We're not driving hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of new leads on a regular basis. It's more retention driven, small number of clients, higher ticket price, but can tend to mean a little bit simpler of a model because of that, especially as you compare to other fitness franchises. Employee studio manager roles, really for the owner operator, depending on whether or not you want to hire a manager to run the day-to-day, or if you want that role to be for you to manage, owner operator would essentially set the tone in the culture. You're building a team, creating that culture. You're hiring and training your staff, whether that be a manager or a team of trainers, or both, managing the schedule, really the sales and the marketing. So this is the key component with Fitness Together, is our consultation. So we want our franchisees to conduct the consultation, which is how we're converting and getting these clients into packages and long-term clients. And so if the franchisee isn't too keen on that piece, that is definitely a place where we would say, let's hire a manager. It makes more sense to have a manager in place that would be conducting that consultation, because we don't necessarily want the personal trainers to do that. That's part of why we're able to attract a higher caliber personal trainer, is because we take the sales completely off of their plate. So they are exclusively focused on training sessions, working with clients, helping to change lives, helping their clients see results, and we take the sales and marketing piece off of their plate. So local studio marketing, building relationships with referral partners, really operating the model that we have in place. And of course, you can have a manager in place to take some of that load off if the owner does not necessarily want to be owner operator. Then of course you have a handful of trainers that are training the programs, and that's kind of the segue into the manager role, right? They would essentially be taking some of the sales pieces, the marketing components, and managing the team off of the owner's plate. And this is just kind of a quick highlight of what our process would be. Deep dive into our support, get to speak with existing franchisees. We host a Meet the Team Day in Colorado and get to meet our executive team and, of course, answer any and all questions that candidates may have. And that was a very high-level overview, but happy to dig in any further if there are any other things that you want to cover.
Lauren, this must have been your first time ever presenting this.
Right, I'm a rookie.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, tell us maybe about the general requirements that we would have, say we're interested in learning more. What's going to make us qualified? Do we need to have fitness background? Do we need to have a certain amount of capital? Do we need to have management experience? What does that look like?
Yeah, great question. So we are definitely not looking for anyone with fitness background. Of course, that'd be great. And we have plenty of those in our system, but we're looking for someone who really is looking for a business where they can change lives. They can really impact people's futures. And that's, of course, on the client side, but also on the employee side, wanting to provide a better career path for personal trainers or, employees in general. But you definitely don't need fitness background. We really train very in depth on how to conduct the consultation, how to manage a team of trainers, where to find them, how to bring them on, how to onboard them. And then trainers go through our online training program to learn really the Fitness Together way. And so the owner doesn't need that background. They really just need the ability and the desire to really onboard a team, build that culture in their studio, whether that be with or without a manager. From a financial perspective, we're looking for about $80,000 in liquid capital, and then about a $200,000 to $300,000 net worth, $200,000 net worth in general. So those are kind of the financial qualifications.
Okay. Yeah, great. So we don't have to be as strong as this guy on the left or as good looking as the gal on the right to be able to qualify. So that's good. That probably makes it more achievable for a lot of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is one of our rock star franchisees, though, JD Christie in Florida. He's a great guy, great owner. He did come from a personal training background, but he has actually kind of evolved out of the business in terms of the day-to-day. He doesn't train in his studio at all anymore. He really just focuses on his team, growing the client base, creating that culture in the studio. So he's a good example of someone that started with a training background, but has seen the scalability of the model if he focuses on the business versus training. And so, if there are people that are in the fitness industry, it's still a great opportunity for them, and they can essentially scale a business that otherwise might not be scalable.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've all met or run into or are acquainted to the trainer that has the following, but they're kind of at their plateau, right? They can't take their business to the next level because they are the business. So, yeah, obviously.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
You have that ability to do that. What does it look like the first 12 months, a day in the life of a franchise owner, if they choose to be the owner operator?
Yeah, so for an owner operator, from the time they sign their franchise agreement, they're kicking off the real estate process with our team, which we're supporting them in site selection, of course, lease negotiations. Once we have a finalized lease and we move into site development, we're holding their hand all the way through build out and construction. Essentially, at the same time construction is starting, they're coming out to our support center in Denver for franchise training. And that's where really they learn soup to nuts how to operate their business. And that would definitely include a large portion of the sales component. So how to conduct that consultation and convert these prospects into packages and long-term clients. Then when they're back in their studio, they're onboarding their team. Our team is then coming out about a week out from grand opening, and we are training their team directly, training them, making sure the studio is completely seamless, ready to rock and roll. And once the studio opens, our marketing programs are really front loaded in a way that drive prospects into studios before the studio even opens. So they effectively should open their studio with consultations already on the books and effectively could convert those consultations on day one, generating revenue right out of the gates. So they would really be managing that team. And the beauty of Fitness Together is that it's really scalable with the client base. So you may only start out with 1 or 2 trainers on staff and very low overhead, and then you can start to onboard more trainers as your client base grows. And so in most cases that should happen fairly quickly. But that focus of the owner as an owner operator in that first year is really still just going to be conducting those consultations, managing the team, creating that culture in the studio. We have a business coach that is assigned to every studio. So the business coach would be checking in with the franchisee on a very regular basis, making sure those KPIs are on track. They have the number of leads that they need to. They're converting the right number of those leads into packages and then retaining those clients for long periods of time as well. So it's really working with our team to monitor those KPIs, working internally with their team of trainers, and then really kind of perfecting that consultation, which is something we spend a lot of time on. And then we have a proprietary, really lead nurturing and kind of point of sale combination software that really fosters the entire client life cycle. So it automates every step of that client life cycle to drive that conversion rate up, drive that retention rate up, and it's really kind of multi-channel communication. So that owner would sign into the software on every day and know exactly what they need to do with each specific client to drive those behaviors.
That's awesome. That sounds like there's a ton of systems in place that really make the franchisee's job much simpler than trying to go out and do something like this on their own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Experience that I had as a franchise owner with a company called Golf Tech previously, because the model is very similar. You have trainers and you have a space, and when you want to grow, you add a trainer or you add another studio, and it's very scalable in that sense because, well, it's really not that complicated to grow. So that makes it easy, right, and very, very business friendly to someone really looking to grow a large business. Lauren, would you mind maybe wrapping us up with a story or two, maybe about a new franchisee that's just gotten started, or maybe someone that's been tenured for several years?
Yeah, absolutely. We have, I would say probably a couple or one of each, because we're in a really unique point in time for Fitness Together, because we're, again, a 20-year-old brand, and really in the early days of Fitness Together, it was targeting personal trainers wanting to start their own business. And so we have plenty of those franchisees in our system today that have really scaled their business over the past 15, 20 years. One that comes to mind actually is Rick Coe. He's out of Bethesda, Maryland. He has 2 studios, or I should say had 2 studios. He had 2 very successful studios and grew it to the point that he was really wanting to empower his team. And this is kind of the beauty of Fitness Together, is that there really is this path to ownership or path to whatever it is that these personal trainers want that they really can't get in any other segment of the industry. And so Rick actually sold his studio at of course, the point that it was profitable, and he was ready to grow to maybe another Fitness Together studio or other businesses within the WellBiz brand, but provided this great opportunity for his personal trainer, one of his personal trainers in his studio, to now own his own studio that's of course established with a solid client base, and of course allowed Rick to turn a profit on his business, which, you know, of course, over the course of 20 years, I'm sure would be the goal for many franchisees. And he still has an existing Fitness Together studio and has been able to scale some other businesses. But I think that's a great testament to the longevity of Fitness Together. And And then another one that comes to mind is a franchisee named Kelly out of Boise, Idaho, actually. He was a client at a Fitness Together studio, and came in contact with us that way, and opened his own studio. He and his wife, Ainsley, just opened actually 2 weeks ago. He is a veteran, retired military, and is really doing such a great job with this new studio. They followed the plan. They utilized all of our marketing resources and did exactly what I was talking about earlier to really drive prospects into the studio before their studio even opens. Unfortunately, not in the FDD, so not numbers that I can share with you, but in process, I'd love to put candidates in touch with Kelly so they can kind of talk to, of course, more established owners, but also brand new owners about what it's like for them with some of this new technology and some of these marketing initiatives that we have that are both driving clients into the studio, supporting that conversion, and then fostering that longevity. So another piece of technology that we've rolled out is a Staiku body scanning system that really allows, kind of takes a lot of the weight off of the trainer's shoulders to have a tape measure to measure clients for tracking results and progress, as well as body mass index, weight, but they can stand on this scanning machine, and it essentially gives us a full, all-encompassing results tracking mechanism so that the client can stand on that on their 6-week check-in every 6 weeks, and we can automatically get that information back. So those are some of the things that, really got Kelly excited about Fitness Together. And then, of course, now that he's open, he's seeing kind of the fruits of all the great things in the studio.
Awesome. You make a really good point about calling new and existing franchisees. If you're in the process of investigating a franchise, I would certainly recommend that you do exactly that, calling someone new so you can get a feel for the most recent training and the support that you'll be getting, and call someone that's been in the system for as long as possible. They'll be able to tell you the consistency of the support and how good it is on a regular basis. Lauren, thank you so much for taking the time to help educate us and tell us about the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Thomas. Look forward to working with some candidates. We're definitely excited about growing the brand and love to talk to some people.